All right, there we go. Oops, I didn't want to do that again. So we'll do some introductions and a little icebreaker, cover some housekeeping, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes and get this show on the road. So if you recognize any of these faces, we have several of us here on the meeting this morning. Like I said, am Noelle Elvier. I tend to support South Region with the Khan Academy, Khanmigo implementation. But like I say, we go anywhere we're needed. So that's me. We have others on the team. If y'all want to wave and say hi, I see John, I see Lee, I think Kathy's on, and Trent, our project lead. So we're all here with you today and happy to have you with us. We also have on the call Tamsin Storin, another familiar face. She is our dedicated professional learning specialist for our county, and joining us also is Elizabeth Hadley, our district success manager. She's always a wealth of knowledge and such a good support for Palm Beach County, so we're delighted to have them both with us. And all of you out there doing the work. So those are the names of all of our support curriculum writers. We've kind of tossed around a few different names. We didn't really come up with anything that stuck completely, but we are so excited to have you have agreed to take on this opportunity, make a little extra money, give back to your district, supporting other teachers that are going to use these lessons and ultimately trickling down to the students, because let's face it, that's what we're here for. So again, thank you to all of you for being here, and kudos for stepping up and taking on this extra work opportunity. So I'm going to do a quick little icebreaker. I'm going to switch my tab here for a second. This is going to be a this or that. So it's really quick, nothing super fancy, but here's how it's going to work. So this is this or that. You're going to locate in the bottom of your screen your toolbar for your emojis. Click that little smiley face, open that bad boy up, and be ready to click the party popper or the clapping hands, depending on your summer preference. I don't know about you, but I work all year and I'm still ready for summer. So let's see what some of your preferences are. So get that emoji button ready, and we're gonna see where we're all at here. So this or that. Is it island, tropical, or mountain adventures for your vacation? Maybe it's none of the above, but I don't know about you, but I'm a this kind of girl. I always lean to that tropical destination. So I see a lot. We're together there. All right. How about hot dogs or hamburgers? What's your fave? I'm definitely a that girl when it comes to my barbecues. Definitely like myself a good juicy burger. All right, I got a lot with me there. How about movies or books? I've been really into reading lately. Really, I think it came with my old age, but I'm a book person. Actually, I lie. I'm an audiobook person. So I'd have to go with that on this one. Lots of readers. Good. Ice cream or popsicles? Yeah, this is my ice cream people. I mean, I'm clapping for my ice cream people, but I'm really a party popper. Yep. All right. How about flip-flops or slides? What's your summer shoe? What's your summer preference? Flip-flops? Yeah, I'm with you there. Love my flip-flops. If I could live in them, that's all I'd have on my feet. All right, pool or beach? Maybe our people that wanted that tropical destination like the beach better. It's convenient to have a pool in your backyard, but I definitely like my beaches. And lemonade or iced tea? What do we got here? I'm an iced tea drinker myself. Yeah, got some lemonades. Good. I think this might be the last one. So on your travel destinations, are you flying or are you driving? I think driving's a little cheaper. My husband hates to drive, so I get stuck doing the driving, but it's all good as long as we can go
It depends on who's going with me.
Yeah, true. I definitely am not flying solo. That's like my big fear. So if you want to come along, I'll fly anywhere, but I got to have a partner. All right. And that's it. That is it. So I'm going to stop sharing that one and go back over to here. And a little housekeeping. So I know we're on summer mode, but we are here working, being paid. So I'm going to ask that you put your cameras on so we can see your beautiful faces. Do keep your mics muted. We'll have some opportunity built in throughout to ask questions, put them in the chat. And then if we can come off mute, we'll go ahead and do that towards the end. Stick around, answer any questions that are lingering that you might have. But for the most part, we're going to ask that you keep your questions in the chat, keep your mics muted, and please keep your cameras on. Little agenda for today. So our main goal, as you are aware, you stepped up for this challenge, and some of you actually were part of this project last year, and you're going to be working on updating those lessons that are linked within Blender that have those standards-based activities guidance that's there, along with built-in Khan Academy and Khanmigo activities for you all as well as for your students. So a lot has changed this year. All lessons are assignable, all those student activities, the learner activities, we can get my words right here. They're all assignable now. So a lot has changed. The way they were written and designed last year, those who worked on them did a fabulous job, but they need some updating. And Tamsin is going to provide you with tons of information, helpful tips and tricks to get that done as quickly as we can and get you paid all at the same time. So that's really the goal, taking those lessons, the content area that you're working on, and making them fabulous again. So we'll go over that. We'll go over the process for you submitting your time so that you can get paid. As you are aware, you will be getting $25 an hour for up to 56 hours. And we are planning to share this whole process with you of how this is going to happen. We have a handy dandy tracker, so that's going to get shared. And at the end, we'll talk about your next steps, and we'll stick around to answer any questions you might have, because it's going to be a lot thrown at you all at once. So with that, I'll turn it over to Trent. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing so Trent can share.
Cool. Thanks, Noelle.
You're welcome.
All right, let me share my window here. Okie dokie. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get into kind of a bird's eye view of what this project is going to entail. So like Noelle said, there are resources in Blender that need updating, but some of those are entirely content updates. Some of them are access updates, meaning the ways that the teachers are going to access these resources in Khanmigo has changed a little bit. So we want to make sure that the directions are clear. The good news is that for many of these resources, they're now directly assignable in Khan Academy, whereas they weren't when they were originally put into Blender. So part of what our process is going to be today and over the next few days, couple weeks, is going to be updating those links and making sure that everything in Blender is up to date. So as far as Khan Academy resources go, there's some new teacher tools and learner activities that are available that weren't available with previous lessons. Those Khan Academy activities are now assignable, and there's been some updates to which courses the links in Blender actually direct to. So we're going to be cleaning up some of that. So as far as the Khanmigo, organizing Khanmigo tasks, we're going to utilize a new table template for the lessons themselves that separates the teacher tools and the Khanmigo learner activities. So we're going to parse those out. We're going to make it clear what activity is for which audience. So for example, should the teacher follow this or should the student follow this? So the new template that's been created by Khan Academy is going to make that a little bit more clear. And we're going to be removing some content that's a little outdated. All right, we're also going to be reviewing prompts for accuracy and relevance to the Florida Best Standards. And we're going to be hyperlinking the title of each teacher tool and learner activity. Again, a lot of, as you kind of notice here, a lot of these updates have to do with navigability, right? How easy are these resources for the teachers to use? How easy are they for, the teachers to assign to their students? Because like we said, a lot of this stuff is now directly assignable in Khan Academy. So those assignable prompts, those assignable activities and lessons, we're trying to just create fewer roadblocks for our teachers to be able to utilize these resources smoothly and get the ball rolling with their students. Okay, so taking a look at the overall outcomes and impact of the work. Yes, we're updating documents, but it's a little bit more meaningful, purposeful than that, right? So the impetus behind this is we're making sure that all of our resources at all times, regardless of course, regardless of content area, are standards-based, right? So these prompts that are using for the teacher tools and the learner activities, they're standards-based. And we're going to make sure that the Khan Academy courses and content that are linked are grade level appropriate. We're not accidentally linking to, a different course or a different grade level depending on the course. So we also want to make sure, as an outcome of our work, that teachers can easily utilize the lesson plans with any relevant links, reference Khan Academy content, and each Khanmigo suggestion. And then as far as student support and engagement, we want to make sure that our recommendations increase student engagement, because as Noelle pointed out, that's at the end of the day, that's why we're all here, right? I don't know about you, but I didn't, spend my time in the classroom to get rich. It's because I wanted to make a difference. And with our kids, we want to make sure that the stuff that we're assigning is purposeful and it's engaging, and we're doing what we can to meet their needs, right? So all of the suggestions that we make as far as updating these lessons, we're keeping that goal in mind, right? That we want to enhance the learning experience. We want it to be meaningful for our kids. All right, so what we have here is an overview of this project timeline. So today, that's our start date, is June 3rd. Over the next couple of days, because we don't want to just have a meeting and then leave everyone to their own devices, we're going to be supporting you the whole way. So throughout this week, we are going to have 2 additional open office hours. So June 4th, tomorrow from 1 to 2, and Friday from 1 to 2. Now, what that means is that if you have a question, if you wanted to talk to one of the contacts in Ed Tech, or Tamsin if she's available. I think Tamsin's available for both this week. So if you wanted to pop in and ask questions, meet face to face, that's your time to do it. Now, we can also schedule time outside of those office hours. It's not that if you don't get into that, you miss the boat. Not at all. We want to make sure that you're feeling supported. So we do have some other support avenues that we'll be talking about later. But those are the next things on the calendar. As you're working independently to update your content area lessons, you have those available to pop in and ask questions. Teaching and learning might schedule with the smaller core content area groups, personalized like midpoint check-ins. They might say, hey group working on reading, or hey group working on 7th grade civics. We're going to set some time on the calendar to meet and discuss what's been going on so far. So your teaching and learning curriculum area contact may end up putting something on the calendar. Now, our projected end date for the work being completed, there's a reason there's a little asterisk next to this, because this is really dependent on how much work kind of gets done and how much we have left to do at that point. right? There may be opportunities for extra work depending on what still needs to get done. So extra days, and that's why we can possibly roll over work until the 18th if there's a need and if we can justify that. But the reason that it's phrased that way is that's when our funding runs out. It's, you know, a big shock there in a large organization that we obviously are, you know, sometimes our resources are limited by the amount of funding we have. So when it comes to when the work can be completed, it's really up until we run out of money is the short answer, but we're looking at a target date of the 18th for that. Now, our goal is to be finished, all lessons updated by the 12th. That would be fantastic. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, as the project goes on, depending on the amount of lessons that you all are able to complete as part of your updates, we may, you know, we'll be communicating with you and giving you any updates on the timeline, but that's kind of where we are for now. All right. So with that, I think I'm going to pass it over to Miss Coretta Williams if she is on. Do I see her?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Trent.
There she is. All right.
Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing? Okay, so in order to get paid, this time sheet has to be submitted. So each Thursday of the week, by 3 p.m., you will have to submit this form to me. And I will enter it in the system. Once I enter it and Miss Rebecca signs off, I will send it back. That's letting you guys know I entered that information in the PeopleSoft, that you will get payment. I did add the payment timesheet that will show when you submitted it that Thursday, which week you will be paid. But I will send a reminder once I email you back saying information was entered when that payment should be showing on your check. So any other questions about that process? Because you'll make a copy and then you'll enter your information for that week that you're entering. Yes, Miss Tonya.
Hi, good morning. I'm just wondering, can we work our own hours? So if we wanted to work at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, or if we chose to work on Saturday, we were able to do that as long as we didn't exceed the 54 hours.
Yes, that should be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, just remember every Thursday at 3 for that week you work, just make sure you submit it by Thursday at 3 p.m. All right.
Cool.
Technically, I'm going to say, to answer your question, Brittany, technically you are only supposed to work 7 hours a day. That is your contract. You all work 7.5. You get paid for 7, something like that. So that's kind of how we figured it out, but you're tracking your time on this form. So if one day you work 4, the next day you work 3, the next day you work 6, it's fine as long as you're working and can document that.
All right. Thank you, Miss Coretta.
Right.
Go ahead, Tonya.
I'm sorry. So I loved your example, Noelle, but in my case, I'll be traveling part of this time. So I was thinking more like 10 or 12 hours one day. Is that okay without it considering overtime?
Tonya, we can follow up on the, afterward. Because I think I just want to make sure before we give you an answer for sure. Is that so? I'm making a note. I will just double check and make sure that it's doable, because we don't want to say, yeah, that's fine, and then have to come back later and then, so I'll get back to you after this meeting. Sure. And Yesenia, I think we're gonna set up for you guys, getting a little ahead of myself, a chat group that's got everybody in it for you to ask questions and be able to chat with one another. I'll make sure it gets posted there and shared out. Okay. All right. I think we are good to move on, unless, do we have any other questions about any of the kind of housekeeping overview payment type stuff?
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
My name is Sonia Gibson, and I am joining a little late. I apologize. But if I could just, I know you can't go over it right now, but if I could, get the payment information, all that later, that would be wonderful.
Sure. This slide deck that we're presenting, we'll share that out with the group. So you'll have access to all of these resources, including the payment form and all the contact information and stuff. So we got you guys covered.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. And I'll just go mute myself again.
All right. Yes, Kathy.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see you. Great to see everybody. I'm so excited. Just one question, because I think one of our companions here was talking about it as well. Do we put today's hours as part of what we're doing today? Is today also part of this form for today to add?
Yes.
Yes, you add that on your form. So make sure that's entered on your form for training.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. So if any other questions pop up, feel free to ask. We've got the chat over here. We've got additional EdTech team members that are in the chat that can help out and answer as needed. But I think for now, we're good to pass it over to the wonderfully talented Tamsin from Khan Academy. And she's going to share with us her expertise.
Awesome. Thank you, Trent. Thank you, everyone. This is going to be a quick overview, and it's going to be recorded, of just kind of the general way of using these templates. But as you'll see, I'm going to move this over on the left side of the screen. This is going to be kind of like your go-to lesson plan of like what you need to do every day to kind of, or not every day, but with each activity that you're updating. But it does differ between content area. So you'll see in here, anything that's highlighted in like a bright blue, that's kind of the unique, different thing that might be a little different for your particular subject area. So I did want to kind of point that out. I am going to be using science today as an example. And so most of these are very similar, but you will find some minimal differences that when you're going through the process, you might encounter, but that's okay. We will be there for you to kind of walk you through it all. So the first step is going to be taking a template. So on here, I have the science template, and it is all of this we'll show you where all this is located at the end, but you're going to make a copy of the template. And we do have a sample of how you can, name this, the naming conventions. But for now, don't worry, I'm just going to copy it over here from something else and paste it in. And so it's basically having the fiscal year 26 in the front, and then the title of what I'm going to be working on, and I'm calling it working file. Once that copy is made, now you're able to kind of go in and start moving stuff over from the original, because your original file, which I'm going to show you is this one for me today, your original file is going to be in view only. So you're not going to be able to edit this particular file. So that being said, you're going to want to make sure that you are using this working file to do all your edits so that it's coming over from the other part. It also is a little bit better because you'll notice here there's 3 columns and here there's 4. And if you were doing it right in that original document, it can get kind of messy with the different tables. So for this science example, you'll notice at the top, I have some things that are highlighted that you kind of would need to fill in. So this one's going to be science unit. The unit's over here. So unit 1, nature of science. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to move it up here and put the verbiage. Oops, just kidding. Right here. So unit 1, nature of science. These dates are definitely going to have to be updated because they are from last year, but we can leave them there, and the teaching and learning can, I'm going to leave them highlighted so that teaching and learning knows that those do need to be updated for next year. I'm going to unhighlight this one because it doesn't need it to be. The other thing here you'll notice, and that's all from this, I just took this from this one column. On their Khan unit topic in the original file, it's going to give us a topic, and it's going to give some links and some lessons. And then the next column has a standard, and this is where it kind of differs depending on your content area. For science, it was kind of a bulleted list that was put into here. So my suggestion is to take the standard and put it into this column. And then I go in and I kind of go get the actual verbiage from the standard. You guys might have a better document to get all these verbiage from. I have CPOMs. So I'm going to take that. And the reason I'm doing this is because we want all of this to be focused on a standard. So by having the actual verbiage of the standard right there, it makes it easier for teachers and for you to copy and paste into all of our different tools with that standard. And then underneath, you're going to have your Khan resources that are linked, which I'm going to move this down here. And then these resources are already in, see, it says here, copy standard from column 3, like I did, and add the verbiage, not the bullet points. And these resources are kind of, it depends on the subject area. They're kind of linked throughout. So here we have one linked on this side to Khan Academy. Down here, we have some videos linked. So we want to move these resources over into this one column. And you want to the other goal is to make sure that every row across is just for one standard. There's a few reasons behind this. One, it keeps it easier for teachers to focus on the standard, obviously, but also because if there's ever a time that the scope and sequence gets moved around, it's really easy for the teaching and learning department to take this row and move it to a different location without having to figure out, okay, well, this lesson goes with these, but now this standard goes with these. It just keeps it a little easier for them to move around in the future if need be. So because this one has a standard here and a different one down here, I'm going to assume that this stuff goes with this standard, and I'm going to not focus on that right away because we're using this one. The next thing is you're going to see, and this is the same throughout all of them, you're going to see under Khanmigo suggestions, it's one column, and you're going to see teacher moves, and then you're going to see, this one don't see any yet, student moves, okay? We need to separate those two into teacher tools and learner activities. So for this standard, they have these, it looks like these following teacher tools. So I'm going to copy these over into the teacher tools section. At that point, we don't need teacher move written in here because it's already in teacher tools. So I'm going to get rid of all those teacher moves and bullet points. And all these directions I promised are in this little document. So it even says, you know, exactly step by step what I'm doing. Now I am going to get rid of some of these spacings so that it's not all like that. And now we kind of have to, this is where we kind of have to look at, okay, what is it's being suggested and how can I make this, you know, linked and relevant to the standard? And this is where your expertise comes in by subject area. So no judging here. I'm usually a math person, but I'm going to do the best I can here. This one says use multiple choice under teacher tools. I created this fabulous document for you on here on the left that has a link to every one of these already. So this is going to be your go-to. When you're in here, you will be able to say, okay, multiple choice under teacher tools. There's two topics on this tabs, I guess. So under teacher tools, I'm going to go find multiple choice, and it's right here. So the first step is to make sure you link it for the teachers. So when I click on this and I have a slide that shows this process, I'm trying to make it so it's a little bit quicker and easier for you guys. Once I just click on any one of these, this little bar pops up. So if I just click once, I'm going to copy by clicking on this copy link, and I'm going to highlight multiple choice and actually multiple choice quiz. So I'm going to put the right verbiage. And then I'm going to Control K and Control V and paste it right there in there. So now I am going to make it bold as well. So teachers, it really stands out. So using the multiple choice quiz, and they don't need this under teacher tools, create. So yes, that's a good question. So now this is going to be what the teachers are going to input into that particular tool. So we're not making the multiple choice quiz for them, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to say use the multiple choice quiz tool to create at least 10 questions for practicing the concepts of blah, 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 blah. And then it's going to give you grade, like these are the prompts that are going to go into this tool. So let me show you what that looks like. What's nice is it not only just brings it to the, it doesn't bring just to all the tools, it literally brings them right to this point. So here out says grade level and stuff like that. That's what they're kind of giving you here. Grade level 6, obviously, number of questions, and then they give you this prompt. And so it says distinguish an observation from an inference and identify test variables. So this is what the teachers are going to go in here and copy and paste into here. They're going to have to provide their own content, right? And by providing their own content, it gives them this standard objective that we wanted. I now can take this off and just put a topic for here. So it gives them the option to kind of customize it. For example, when I train teachers, I talk them like, maybe this is a class that they have an abundance of English language learners. So we can say, make sure to provide support for my ELLs, right? So we want the teachers to go and create it because they can personalize all these based on the students that they have in their classrooms. So I hope that answers that question. So that's kind of how to take like the teacher tool and make it into something that's linkable here. You will notice underneath it says assign the practice mind. Let me go back to the original, sorry. This one did say teacher move, assign practice my knowledge. But if I go into here, I'm going to find that practice my knowledge is not a teacher tool. Practice my knowledge is a learner activity. So if you don't see it in one, you might have to go and find it in the other. These are the ones that are now assignable. So if I go into practice my knowledge here, and I'm going to copy this link. So I'm going to say assign practice my knowledge. And I'm going to move this over to the student side because this is a student activity. So it's going to say, and this is kind of the little blurb that you can copy and paste as you're doing this. Assign, put the name of the activity with the following prompt. So I'm going to move this down and say with the following prompt. And this is where teachers, and I'm going to make sure you see what this looks like. It brings them right to the assignable page.
So sorry, guys. We have an alarm in the building, so we're going to have to vacate. That's not what we planned for today.
Tamsin, are you good to keep going?
But
I don't have an alarm.
We have
So
to get out of it. Okay, so you can go on.
I don't have one either. I'm here.
Oh, good.
All right, we'll rejoin you guys shortly.
Fun times. So it's going to bring you right to this part where they edit. So it's already linked to make it so easy for the teachers. And they only in these assignable ones need a title and instructions. So here it says, this is what was there before. Use the following directions. Pick middle school as a level. They won't have to do that anymore because it's not, because now we're assigning it. So I can get right out of that. And it says, give the following command. So I'm going to get rid of that. So what they're going to do, it wants them to develop a scientifically appropriate hypothesis. The student should stay practicing until they develop 3, get rid of this correctly, 3 hypotheses correctly. But we have to make this kind of student facing. This is going to be a prompt to students. So I'm going to change it to something like work with Khanmigo, because this is what the students are going to see, to develop a scientifically appropriate hypothesis, period. Make sure to practice until they develop 3 hypotheses correctly. So this is where we kind of have to like, do you really practice making hypotheses? Because it seems like they really just want them to develop 1. So this is where we need you guys to kind of come in and say, okay, this is what the standard is. This is what they need to be able to do and what the outcome is, right? So we might want to change what this prompt says. We might not want to use some of it. And this is where kind of the thought process has to go. So I'm going to leave these types of things to the expertise of you guys to kind of, and that's where as you're content based, to make sure it is going to be something that is going to be relevant to the expectation of the standard. And I'm going to, just leave that one. I'll highlight it so I know that is not done. Oops. All right, and then next one we have use the clear direction. So you guys get the process, right? So I'm only kind of just doing one standard here, but we have the standard. We have the Khan resources. That was one thing I didn't pull over, so let me get to those resources. That right there is the part that really is the taking the teacher tools and learner activities and kind of separating them out. The other main part is looking at the resources, and this doesn't, I don't know. I haven't looked at everything. I can't say it doesn't, but it happens more in some subject areas than others. I'm going to show you what I mean by, I think I put it in here. It says right here, make sure that the links are from current Khan Academy courses. They are not archived, depreciated, or anything like that, and they're grade level appropriate. And the link goes to Khan Academy, not YouTube. So this is the third main part. Everyone at the bottom, I have put a little image of the courses you should be pulling from, in case you had any questions. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So here, this is linked to Khan Academy. And when I click on it, you will see up here where it says depreciated. And I have notes and examples of this in the slides for you to reference. So we're not going to want to be pulling from a depreciated course. So I'm going to go back. And then we have down here some other videos and resources. So let me see what those are from. When I click on this, it's going to bring me to YouTube. Now, I have found a nice little hack which took me a second, to find how do I figure out because if I go and type in the scientific method in the search bar in Khan Academy, I'm not gonna find this. If you go down under here to more on any of these YouTube videos that are linked, you will see either this particular link or a link to the next lesson, and that will bring you right in to that particular spot in Khan Academy's content. And if you look over here, now we're in Biology Archive. So again, something that we don't want to be using. Next, I'm going to go look at this article, so on and so forth. So what we want to make sure we're doing is we're bringing this content into something that is appropriate and linked to a non-depreciated course. And as I click through all these, now I'm in high school biology, which, by the way, this is a 6th grade course. So that's where I put in making sure it's grade level appropriate as well. And sometimes the videos might be okay. You have to, use your discretion. But again, this is from a depreciated course. So when I look at, let me get these closed out. When I look at what's going on here in this one for this standard and what they're doing, it's biology and the scientific method. I can go in here to our courses by clicking on Explore, and I have middle school biology, middle school earth and space, and middle school physics. I can click on them and I can kind of look through these units to see if it's something I would like to assign, if it goes with what I'm doing. I already did this earlier today, so there really isn't anything that is scientific method and biology altogether. And that's fine. It doesn't have to, our thing doesn't have to have a Khan Academy course that's linked that works for that particular standard. But that's what the beauty of these go, where we can use the teacher tools and learner activities to engage students instead of having that course content support. So down here, I am going to show you this. This is the first page of this one. And sometimes they look different like this. This is the original one. This one has a lot more things linked in. And I think Trent had mentioned like taking things out. And I think someone mentioned in the comments, I'm definitely not staying on top of the comments. Someone mentioned the comments though about we're not miking the examples for them. Some of the writers did put in examples. So here, correct. Yes, you can do both support and teacher tools, however you see fit. So here they're linking videos. Again, it's YouTube, and in here, so we want to check that. But also you'll see some, and it's not everyone, and it's not every unit. This one says output by Khanmigo. So what they did is they went in, did all that, and put the output here for teachers. We want teachers, we don't want to bring that over. We're not going to bring that over here. We just want to direct teachers to go into the discussion prompts, create it with this prompt, because we want teachers to be able to customize their output with Khanmigo on their own based on their students' needs and the student population they have in front of them. So in my notes, when you see here, remove any linked outputs or written examples. Some people link the outputs, sometimes people would put the entire output right here and spell it all out. We want, like, here's another example. Yep, here's the output. We don't want to put any outputs over here. We want to keep it nice and clean and let the teachers do that and customize that for their students. So that is kind of the overview. Oh, I do want to point out too. So if you were to come up here and you wanted to, let me move this over. search for, you can search for, what was it, scientific method. When you search we have updated this. It used to pull, I don't know how it worked, but the depreciated courses, all the courses are linked like up here. You can see where it's coming from. We have now had all the depreciated courses go back to the bottom. So anything that's depreciated or not something that is out there that we should be using, if I can find an example here. So we have special topics, insert, Telenaga, class 8, this kind of stuff is not biology archive. This is not where we want to be pulling from, which is why I gave you this nice little piece of information at the bottom. These are the names of the courses to pull from. So when you're yes.
Real quick, I see someone else raise their hand as well in the chat. How do you link teachers directly to the video? We're not, right? Are we linking them straight to a video?
I see what they mean. So let's pretend that this, because it says scientific notation, which is not scientific. And this is in my slides too. So if you want to bring them to the video, what you're linking is this up here. You're going to copy this and you're going to paste that. So let's just say, let me get over here. It was, I'll just say it was a video. I would put the title.
Yeah. So you go to the page that it's on and the URL at the top is the link that's deep linked, and then you just highlight and Command F or Control F.
And then you're going to link it here. So it's going to bring them to this particular video, but not in YouTube. It'll bring them in Khan Academy. And what's nice is that teachers will be able to see, oh, there's an activity that goes with this, or there's another video. So they can see other things that might be able to support them in that when it's linked like that.
Yeah. And then you could just click it to check that it goes to the right place.
Yep.
But it won't link to a certain class, just the general video. Well, it's linking into that course. See at the top, it says 8th grade math at Florida Best, but it's linking directly to that video.
So if they wanted to assign it to their class, then they can click up here, assign. And that was the other thing. So by being able to assign it, by doing it this way, instead of a YouTube video, they can go in and directly assign it to all of their students, and right here directly from that link that you provided, and they can actually hold their students accountable for watching that video and seeing if they actually did through our score reports. So that was why we liked to link it in the Khan Academy platform.
Good way of explaining it, Elizabeth. The video lives within the course, but it's open to anyone to assign individually as well. And then Lizette, you also had a question.
Yeah, it's just easier to talk. Hi, good morning, everyone.
Yep.
So a couple of things. I just want to confirm we're not transferring any YouTube over. We're linking the new stuff if needed. And we are not adding any outputs. We're not transferring that over at all, right? Okay. And then my other question is, for the sake of consistency, are we writing the title exactly the same and bolding the title?
Yeah. I mean, I have it in here. So, I mean, some people might even want to just, where does it go? Just take it and copy it and paste it from over there. It might be a different font, which is why I kind of copied and pasted.
Okay.
Because again, all of these original documents are kind of a little different. So
sometimes when you paste the link, though, it doesn't bold the text. So I just wanted to know if you wanted the text bolded. Does it matter? Does it matter?
It looks better. It's because I don't know. I think it's a little easier for them to see. So it was
okay.
I didn't want to be too picky and too specific because I know that we're short on time, and so I really had to prioritize. But it would be nice if it stood out a little bit better. If you could, that would be good.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
And there are a lot of bullets. So if you wanted to get rid of some bullets, you really don't have to have them all, to kind of save space. And which was my purpose of taking some of the information in this first column that was over here. Like this whole column is just for this.
Yeah.
So by moving this to the top, it kind of gives more space in the
cleans it up. And then the other question, and I think Elizabeth answered correctly, it doesn't matter if it's in a math course, but it's for a science document, right? So like that you're in science, but that was a math course that you got the video from, just as long as it's grade level appropriate.
Grade level appropriate. I mean, this one says simplify in scientific notation. So yeah, I was looking for scientific method. That wouldn't work, right? Because that's not, but maybe if you are doing scientific notation in a science class and they need some, practice with that is, you can cross over like that as long as it's grade level appropriate. And
that's what I was going to say, because it, some of those are, crossover in certain subjects. And then Kathy?
Yes. Tamsin, a question. We're in the middle column where it says teacher tools. We're in that grade 6, right? So we say grade level 6, number of questions 10. That topic, since we're copy pasting it to make a prompt for that multiple choice, can we change the word topic and say prompt?
Yes, like some of them. So I think where they got that from, let me pull this up real quick, is because of this word right here. I think they're pulling it from what this said. And some of these have changed since then. Like
Right.
we didn't have, this was not a thing when these were created. We didn't have the option to do 5 questions or true or false. But again, these can be, you know, these are suggestions. Like maybe this teacher's like, I don't want 10 questions. I want 5, which is why I wanted teachers to have more. They have the prompt that they can, you know, put here. And they're gonna have to provide their own context because it can pull from Khan Academy content. And then these are the parts that, you know, you can suggest, put in the standards or learning objective. And I definitely thank you for actually, this reminds me, go in here and try these things, right? So go in here and say, okay, I want to do this. And then it says standard or learning objective. You could leave the topic here. I can take this standard or learning. And that's what's so nice to have here for them. It's a one-stop
Exactly.
shop. Paste it right here and say, whatever, my class loves Pokemon, and make it relevant to weird stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they get to customize it and then see what the output comes in. And I think I put somewhere in one of these, someone said, use the chat. Somewhere in one of these I was working on as an example, use the chat tool to tailor it to your students. I kind of changed the verbiage of saying, use Khanmigo on the right to, you know, make any adjustments as needed. And that's why we have you guys here, because you're you've done this before, or you're an ambassador, so you're more familiar with the platform to help kind of really make this a little easier. So this
that was pretty much it, because just like you guys have done, the team has done a tremendous job when you took us as ambassadors step by step in order to be able to bring anything. Let me tell you, working with my schools for the entire year, you really have to do the baby steps. So if we have that kind of flexibility, and because we played with it before actually working on it, I wouldn't mind go, okay, you do this and you do this and you do this. That, trust me, they want that. They want it all laid out. And that's how I can be successful. So it's a little work for my part, but that's why I was the ambassador. You know what I mean?
But that's what they want. You're right, Kathy. They want it spelled out, you know, step by step, and this easy. Copy and paste. And where's the answer key, right? Like that's just the generation we're working with.
And I'm guessing that blended. Just one more thing, blend. I just checked. Teacher team has not yet updated, you know, when it comes to the units and whatever is in Blender. So we'll just use the days later. We'll just wait for them to catch up on that. I know they're working on it. But we still have, for example, if I'm the ELA content, I just went in there and they still haven't.
You're saying scope and sequence dates, right?
Yeah.
I think she said to just leave it highlighted yellow, so curriculum will update that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so like this is an example of one I had done for science. This is an 8th grade one I've already done in the past. And so these are all linked to these are going to bring us right to Khan Academy. Use a lesson hook and clear directions. They didn't have anything in the original for a learner activity. So that's where you guys get to come in and say, hey, I would like to assign a learner activity. Maybe it's just a word safari and they're doing a quick little vocabulary check, or maybe you leave it blank, right? It's you guys have that because they were combined. They don't always every standard didn't always have one, and it doesn't necessarily need to, but that's where your creativity can come in. I just kind of showing how I separated it out by standard, and if there was a video to utilize. Now, this is another example I wanted to point out. Let me move this guy over. Some of the people had said like using a certain video to do something. So here, this is a little different use case. Use the introduction to the atom. I think it's a video. Let me open it up. I should put that. Yep. So I'm going to go back here. Using the introduction to the atom video to create a lesson hook. And I put a little note here, using the link to the lesson hook above the video. I was trying to make, and if you guys have a better way to make it clear, I'm trying to show them that they can use this up here. So once the teachers click on the video, they can click on lesson hook and it fills it all in for them. It's filled in now based on that video.
Choose the lesson hook option above the video.
And fills it all in.
Yeah.
So,
and then Tamsin or Noel, the question is, since we're going by benchmark, this is from Robin O'Brien. since we're going by benchmark, will there be cases where there's not a teacher move or student move for every benchmark? Do we want them to create new ones? Because maybe they weren't created last summer.
Right. So that is, it's a great question, since like this one here that I was redoing, this one didn't have any learner activity, it had these two. So I would think that it would be great if there maybe, but it all depends. Like maybe it's just not something that a student could really engage or assign something to, but it would be great if there was an assignable, and you have a lot of options. So I put in this chart, it also shows you what every thing, this is like a little blurb.
It's a great cheat sheet.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the next question kind of lends itself to this is, can they create all new lessons, or should they primarily just update the old ones?
Well,
I mean, I don't know if there's going to be enough time to create brand new lessons for every single benchmark and based on what they're assigned. So I'm not.
I mean, they're all going to kind of need that little bit of a tweak. Like they're all going to need that kind of little bit of a updating and
finessing.
Right. So what I put down here, I put to review the teacher tool prompts for accuracy and relevancy to the standard, add minor updates to enhance the task when needed. Maybe it wasn't specific enough. And then I even put a note here, add any additional teacher tools and learner activities that are applicable for each standard as needed, right? So this would be an as needed case. Like if you can, I'm not a science person, but if you can, as needed. So I'd kind of direct that to the teaching and learning department. Like, do they want to make sure there's something in every box? I think they should try, but I don't know if it's always going to be feasible. And all these instructions, like I said, for each subject area, you're going to have links to that will literally go through step by step. As far as the assignments and who is going to be working on what, Noelle, we are going to get to that later. And there's a whole tracking sheet that we have to explain. I just kind of wanted to make sure everyone was okay with this process of, and I'm going to provide the template for you that you just make a copy of, and it's going to be very, very seamless. And anytime something comes up that I may have missed, because I only did one unit out of each subject area. So science, biology might be different than chemistry, but I do chemistry. So as things come up, I will update this while you guys are working, be like, oh, that's a good point. Let me add it to the document. So keeping this open while you guys are working will really help. And I put in like at the top of every one of these, this was the original document that I used and my suggested revamp of what it would look like afterwards. And then you have your template linked here, same template link there. It's linked in, I link everything everywhere. So you don't have to, you'll always be able to find it. Elizabeth says, if possible, I think it would be powerful to ensure there are ample enough Khanmigo activities for priority standards. Standards we know are 100% tested on the assessments. I know that looks different across subject areas. So I'm going to go into, let me get rid of, let's see if I can get this out of here. This one. All right, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of go through the slides to show you, like there are going to be, we're going to get to that. So this slide is just going to remind you kind of the stuff we talked about, courses that are depreciated or they're in archive. And then when I told you earlier, like, so these, you're going to have good notes in my slides. So when you search, make sure it's from a approved course. These are the course names up here at the top, and obviously grade level appropriate. If it's high school chemistry or AP chemistry and you're working with 6th graders, you might want to really make sure that that is appropriate for them. Here is examples, that's why it's in red, of like, these are random not courses that you would see. Again, I also have that cheat sheet for you. If you look at the list of approved courses that I linked here in that same little document that looks like this at the bottom of every area, you can also find courses by clicking Explore. Again, just making sure that it's relevant to the grade level and on a course that is not depreciated. We talked about the teacher tools. These are all the different ones, and the cheat sheets and the learner activities that are now all assignable. And I don't know if you guys have seen these. Some of the people who wrote lessons last year may not have. I have these learner activity prompt starters. So this is a resource that I created that will help you while you're making these learner activity prompts. So you know, you'll have access to this document. It's a great way of saying like practice, and then you insert that standard, practice identifying, what was it? The scientific method, or using the scientific method to create a hypothesis with Khanmigo. These will help you, and these are for those learner activities. These give examples of ones I've used in the past. So you have a nice little, and it kind of goes by great content area, a nice little cheat sheet of different ways that you can design these types of prompts. And we also have put in here some of the shortcuts to help save you time. So if you wanted to say, like, you've been doing this for a while and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm saying the same thing, go over to chat with GPT in Khan Academy or Gemini that you guys all have access to with your district, and say, hey, I'm trying to make a prompt for this and I'm trying to get more creative. I'm running out of ideas. Help me. And we encourage you to utilize that to make sure this is engaging for the students. And I don't know if you know about Control K, Control V, Enter. It is my favorite thing. I hit it 1,000 times a day. But when you go over there to copy that link, after you highlight the text that you want to link it to, literally just hit Control K, then Control V, then Enter. It will open up the little box to insert the hyperlink. It will paste it, and it'll close out the box. So a nice little cheat sheet for you. Sorry. Someone asked this question for, yes, Command for Macs. I didn't put that in because I figured they were using, but yes, that is true. Those who are saying, how do you link that video? There's going to be this little reminder for you here. You want to copy and paste this web address using the same process to make sure it's linked in correctly. And then that's another reminder for where, if it's a video that was linked on YouTube, clicking this more at the bottom and finding this link where it says either view more lessons, or there will be a link. From what I found, they're mostly in there, and that'll bring you to the course to help you realize if it's an appropriate course or not. And this was the other one, using teacher tools from Khan Academy content. So if you do have a video you like, you can direct them, like I mentioned earlier, telling them at the top, click on whichever one of these tools are you want them to click on, and then it will fill in automatically for them. Any questions?
Are you still thinking about whether or not? I am impressed. We must be doing a good job answering in the chat then.
Right, I'm gonna take over and
Find a Wi-Fi network. You might want to check the modem or router connections.
Yeah. You heard that?
I promise that was not me. If you heard a fire alarm, apparently that was me, but the Alexa or Google Voice was not me. All right, I'm gonna present.
Trent, real quick, Robin's question was in the chat again. I believe we had chatted a little bit about it. If there is no benchmark, if there is no lesson or anything by a benchmark, should it be created from scratch? Because it didn't exist last year.
Yeah.
Or
So,
is the focus on updating the previous ones first, and then if there's still time, then going back and filling in any missing pieces?
I mean, I think Tamsin's response to this was great. That we should kind of, if there's a gap, or if there's something where there's an opportunity for an activity, we should absolutely try. But not every content area lesson is going to kind of lend itself to having something created if there was a gap, right? So we should kind of do our best to fill it in, and kind of do what we can. But also too, there might be an opportunity once these lessons have been, changed, edited, and then shared with our friends in teaching and learning, that they might look at it and say, okay, you know what, this would benefit from having something added to it. So that can all be a part of the feedback process. So, the thing about this project that we've learned since we've been kind of putting everything together and organizing these materials, as stuff like this, these questions come up and we say, oh, that's a good idea, and we might end up shifting track a little bit. So update what we have, And then also if there's an opportunity to add something, you know, where there's like a need or a blank or an empty space, then yeah, we can still do that.
There's another Tamsin question that just came up. I think it's saying if they created a quiz themselves, can they link to it? I think is what I'm.
Okay, so yes, yes. Let me share my screen. I didn't want to get too. But if you're asking, that means you know stuff. So let me get into my Khan Academy. So if you create a teacher tool and it's going to be in my documents and we do have the ability to share it, right? So when you create something, so let me go into here and pretend we created this scientific method. While you're here in create mode, there is an option to share it. What that does, and it's going to copy a link, and I can even paste it in the chat so you can see what that looks like. It's going to give you a view only access to this quiz that I created. And there'll be a button on the top for you to click, make your own copy. And then yes, it'll be in here for them where they can go now and chat with Khanmigo. They won't be able to edit or change the one that you made. So that is an option. I don't know. I didn't even think of this, to be honest, at the time. It's an option, but I do also like the ability for teachers to be able to put the things in here and then have either the notes or the other specifics before creating it. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that process, or if we really just want them to have the prompts and the ability to tailor it right here. Because when we link it, it will bring them right to this form. It's not going to bring them to the page where they have to find the activity. Tanya?
Yeah, so I found being the Khanmigo ambassador this year at my school is that teachers really, the first time around, they like to have the things already created. And then once they get familiar with it, they like to go in and be able to change it. So to actually have something available for them to use the first time around, I think would get more use out of the program at a high school level anyway. That's my opinion.
Okay, so what if
like a suggested, here's a suggested quiz or whatever, if they don't want to make one, and then you just link that, right?
Right. So like maybe down here they could, have use clear directions, blah, 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 link, but what would
optional quiz
to sample quiz.
Sample quiz is perfect. Yeah. Just so they
can them to know, but I want them to know that that it's already in there and it's going to bring that, you know what I mean? Like, how do we phrase it so that it's already, I don't even know where that one went. Oh, that it's already, that it's a shared thing already. It's suggested output, but they're going to think I don't want them to not click on it because they think it's going to be a Word doc. Like I want them to see a link to
sample activity.
Sample already in Khan Academy platform or something that lets them know that this isn't going to be just another output. It's like already linked to sample or activity already in Khan Academy platform that you can make a copy of and edit accordingly, or you know what I mean? Something along those.
And someone said that they created samples last year and received request to access the files. Was that maybe in like a Google though? Like Google Forms?
Yeah.
Like a form or something?
Yeah. So that's where I was trying to avoid, where that now it's asking for share access. And so maybe something along the lines of like something like,
So that way if we created another category that says like optional activity with directions underneath it, or sample activity with directions underneath that, so you see how you have use clear directions, use lesson hook. We say optional or sample activity and then put the directions underneath it.
But it wouldn't be direct. This would go with this. This link would go to, it would be, say it was multiple choice.
A link to an output of that.
This.
Up there, yes.
Right.
Right.
And maybe it's only in the first two for the year.
Right.
You
And that's what I'm saying.
know,
Yeah, so by putting it there, so it's optional, but then kind of scaffolding that away so that it's not there afterwards. Cause it's going to be more work for you guys to have to go in and make this and get the link and paste it and share it and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Tamsin, I could jump in on that. I would like to reiterate what Tanya mentioned, that I think having maybe a couple of those at the beginning of the year. So I noticed here we're at like right at Labor Day time. However, and again, I'm an outside person here, but if it were me, I would prioritize more of the prompting than actual outputs. I do love the idea of like the outputs of already having a couple made examples there, especially in the beginning. However, the main purpose of this document is to start integrating AI into a regular business model there in the classroom, where teachers are able to go in and make something that is not only standards aligned, but right for their audience in their classroom. And by just giving them something throughout the entire scope and sequence is really just doing the work for them, where we want them to eventually, this is really a learning and training guide. So I love the idea of like that gradual release. Give a couple in the beginning, but as you work through your process over the next, several days, I would prioritize more of the actual instructions you're putting there, and only put a couple of those already made things at the beginning of the year, just to give them an idea of what can be made. And again, this is my personal opinion, but I really like what Tanya said. A couple in the beginning, but kind of back away and focus more on the prompting here in the document.
I just to piggyback on that, and that's why I raised my hand in the beginning. I think it's important that we really empower teachers to do this on their own. And I think that's exactly what you all are doing. Is these are the tools, these are how we had ambassadors, this is what we have going on. But to expect someone to give you everything, it takes away the power of, being a professional. So completely agree. And even those beginning outputs, even if the sample is just like 3 questions, like, hey, this is a taste of what you can get. But I think giving them everything just takes away their power, which we also don't want to do. So I agree with all of you. Thank you.
And I do want to point out too, this reminds me here, like if you're going through and you see like a prompt that they wanted for Tutor Me or something, I encourage you to go in, because it's going to bring them right to this, right? So you just copy this prompt and paste it in here. And give it a title. What is we're doing? I'm just putting something random. Then you have this option to preview the assignment. So this is something I definitely encourage you to do, especially with these learner activities. And you're going to be in this preview mode. You click on I'm ready to practice, and to see if what you put is going to give the kind of output you were hoping for. So it says, which topic would you like to start with? Okay. I mean, most kids would probably say none, but I'll try to be a good student. And it says, what do you already know? So because we put in here, Khanmigo is going to tutor you on the following topics. Think about if you're a tutor and someone says, I need you to tutor me on density. Well, what do you already know? Like, I'm not going to start at kindergarten. Like, what do you know? So I can kind of get an idea of what you already know. I'm going to say not much, and then that kind of is going to tailor that conversation based on that student's needs and meet them where they're at. And so sometimes when I was doing this was a good one, but because I had probably already tweaked it, but sometimes I was doing this and I found like, okay, actually, I think I have it in my slides. And I noticed that it just wasn't giving the output that I was looking for. And so I kind of had to keep changing it. Yeah, I don't know if I thought I had it in my notes, but I don't. But sometimes it's nice to go through and make sure that this, especially if you're new to writing these kind of prompts, that it's going to give you the output that you were hoping for. And if it doesn't, you can always come in here and change it. Put in here, make sure you ask 5 questions or something and preview it again until it is kind of how you like it. But what's nice is all these links will bring you right to that assignment. Any other questions?
All right. I think I will. Oh, William's got a question.
Excuse me. Have the
You're good? Was it your coworker that it was picking up on?
no? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Have the documents been sent to us to play with?
So we're actually going to be getting into the tracking sheet now, which is where all of the documents are linked. And the slide deck that Tamsin has put together, we're going to be sharing that with you as well, because we're going to get started relatively soon with kind of like a practice, just to get everybody warmed up and kind of working in the sheets. But before we do that, we're going to go over the tracking process and show you where to access each of the lessons. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we're gonna walk through the tracking process. Now, I do want to point out one thing before we get started. When it comes to the files that you are going to see versus the files that you're going to create, we have kind of a little system for trying to keep the file names relatively similar and uniform. Just as, you know, kind of an organizational thing. So what you see here is 3 examples from the tracking sheet that we'll be showing you relatively soon. The first example is math, and then ELA, and then science. In each of these, you see that the grade level's over on the left, and then you see kind of like a variation in the second column here. You know, it might look different depending on the subject area. So when you go to name the files for these new lesson plans, you are going to just do the FY26, because this is for next year, and then take the essence of column A and add it to column B, and that is your name for that file, right? So it's, you know, it may look a little bit different depending on the subject area, but essentially you take what's here in column A, just that, you know, the grade level and the subject, the course, and you add that to column B with the topic, and that'll end up giving you your file name, more or less. Jean, did you have a question?
I forgot, Trent. I'm sorry, because I put these. We did this yesterday. I didn't put in the example on the bottom plus the working files. So I'm fixing it now, and if you refresh, it'll be better. But having the words working file at the end, I forgot to put on there. It's in the top, but
oh, okay.
It should. But, okay.
Title of the working file.
Yeah, I put it at the end after, like, for example, math topic 2. After that, it says working file, and I updated my. I don't know why it's not for you, but
yeah. Let me. I might need to refresh the whole page. Hold on 1 second. We'll see if it sticks. All right. Okay. And Jean, did you have a question?
Yes. Khan Academy, like Tamsin and Elizabeth commented on whether you wanted us to add sample, but no one from curriculum did. So I'm just wondering if you all want us to add samples at the beginning or throughout, when people were talking about adding samples that we've already created.
So I think and let me know if this is different from the group's takeaway, but I think that we kind of landed on, we really want to empower the teachers to kind of to do, you know, their own outputs and stuff. We want to make sure that any samples that are provided are, well, there's a couple considerations, right? That number one, it's linking to something directly assignable in the course. And number two, that it's not something the teacher's just gonna pull down and use and then, you know, not engage with the other content that's inside of Khan Academy.
Okay, great. Just wanted to clarify.
And group, let me know if that was, if my interpretation is different than, you know, okay. All right, cool. So we're going to take a look at the tracking sheet, and this is the method that you're going to kind of, this is going to be like your dashboard, what we're about to get into. If, you know, what I would do is bookmark it, pin the tab, do whatever you need for quick reference. But I'm going to kind of walk you through the tracking sheet and orient you to what the process is for grabbing these lessons and starting the updates and such. So here is the tracking sheet. This is where the work is going to live, more or less. And like I said, I'll kind of walk you through step by step when you first access this, and I'll try to zoom in just a little bit so the view is a little bit easier. So down here on the bottom, you've got the different courses, right? You've got ELA, math, science, social studies, intensive reading, and then over at the very end, Tamsin has put together a list. Tamsin and Noel have put together a list of resources and links to help you kind of, just have quick reference available to you, right? So we're going to use ELA as the example here. So column E, this is where you'll see your name next to the assignment, right? So this tells you exactly what lesson or lessons you're going to be working on. Starting off from the just row 2, the first lesson on here. So this has been assigned to Jamie. This is the original Khan Academy course that is referenced in last year's file, right? The SY25. So this is, if you click this is the file that needs to be updated. This is the lesson that was used the previous year. So this is here for reference. As you move through the sheet, when you start working on something, you say, okay, I'm going to grab this. This is the one I'm working on right now. You are going to change this drop down to in progress, right? It's just an easy way to let everybody know, hey, I've grabbed this file. I'm working on it. This is what I'm currently doing now. Once you have that, you're going to go to the top of this column G, and this will give you the template that's been provided by Tamsin as a best fit for this course. Okay, so if you open that up, these are the templates that she's talked about. They are linked at the top of every column on that spreadsheet. So whatever the course is that you're working in, column G is up at the very top. You'll see the big blocky letter that says template. And in here, this is where you'll see the updated template for providing your lesson updates. All right, so once you get to work, this is where all that comes in with providing those lesson updates, going into Khan Academy, finding the appropriate activities, checking the links, making sure that you're going to, being able to do all that. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Noel. When you go in to create and access those templates, you are going to create a new copy of this, right? And then this is where those naming conventions come in. So because this is a copy, you're going to go to File, Make a Copy, and then using, let me share this other screen momentarily, using these naming conventions, name that file, and link it on the spreadsheet. Tara, question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Just on the files, when you do save them, let me lower my hand because my screen's yelling at me. On the files, when you save them, will you please write at the top of the file, as in the SY25 specifically for ELA, and I'm unsure of the other subjects, who the Khanmigo expert writer is at the top of that? So that way teachers, when they see it, if they do have questions, can really work together and reach out. So you're going to be like that amazing ambassador for that grade level as you were last year. I know I see Jean in here, so she's familiar with that process. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you. And we can talk more about that at our meeting this afternoon for ELA at least.
So would you like for me on the template to put a spot for that?
I would greatly appreciate it. That way the writers are it's easier for them to see where to input it. And that way people know who our Khanmigo amazing people are.
And just to clarify, because in case, because the template's kind of like a table, right? And each table is kind of like a different unit or cycle. So and maybe there might be different people writing it. So I'll have it on each table. So when they make their copy of it, for that unit, their name will be on there. So it might be multiple times. Is that okay?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tamsin. And it also builds a great resume too.
All right, awesome. And Tamsin, thank you for updating the templates. That's super useful. Okay, so as part of that working file, When you add your name to it, you're going to change the working file title according to these conventions. Again, these are going to be in the slides, the slide deck that we're sharing with you. Tabitha, I don't. Looks like your question was okay. Yeah, it was just a minute ago. Sorry. What do you mean? Which part did you need to be shown? Just want to make sure I'm answering everything.
About Tara's statement just now about adding our name. Where are we adding our name and how?
So Tamsin is going to be adding something up at the top of the templates.
I'm in the science one right now if you want to look at it.
Okay, let me click over there.
Yeah.
Science template, boom.
See at the top? How's that?
Cool.
Right here.
All right, awesome.
Does that work?
Thanks, Tamsin. That looks really good. Appreciate it.
Yeah. If you want it somewhere else, I'm not offended. So just let me know. I'm gonna go put it in all the other ones now.
All right. Okay. The next thing you're going to do, so after you've added your name, so that's when you're going to jump in and do all that great stuff that Tamsin walked us through at the early part of the meeting. Now, when it comes time to, you look at it and you say, all right, I think this is good. This is awesome. What you're going to do, and not until this point, but because your working file is going to be linked right here, you're going to add your working file to column. I'm not sharing the right screen. I'm sorry, guys. All right. So after you've grabbed your template, you've made the updates in column G, well, as soon as you start the updates, this is where you want to link whatever you saved your new file as. Okay. So this will give people the opportunity to, your content area, curriculum, teaching and learning contact can take a look at it and kind of review at their availability. But you want to put the file link there. And once you're done, you want to change this drop down to ready for review. Now, just to be absolutely clear about this, don't select that drop down until you want somebody to look at it, because when you select that drop down of ready for review, it's going to send an automatic email to the teaching and learning contact. In this case, it would be Kaylin, if you were submitting this science lesson, telling her that that file is ready for review. Okay. So it's going to be, and if you change it back and then, change it back to in progress and then back to ready for review, it's going to send another email. All right. So you want to make sure that you're not, selecting that it is ready for review until it's ready for review. When teaching and learning gets the opportunity to take a look at it, they are going to change this drop down, meaning, it could be under review, or if they select needs revision, they're going to go into your working file and leave comments for you on the working file. So it's saying, hey, whatever the feedback is, they'll leave those on the comments. And if everything is good, they're just going to approve it. When they approve it, you'll get an email notification saying that it's been approved and it's good and it's done. Lizette asked, do we need to change the general access permissions on the file first? Yes. So what you can do is you can share, you can make the file anyone with the link can view, and you can share it directly with your curriculum contact. You can, make it anyone with the file can comment is probably the safest way to do this. And then we can change those permissions once, it's ready to be published and added to Blender. All right. Will we get an email if teaching and learning marks needs revision? So we don't have it set up to send you an email if teaching and learning says that it needs revision, because what we want to happen is for them to go into the document and then leave a comment and tag you in that comment, showing exactly what it is that needs revision, and you'll get notified that way, because when you tag people in comments and assign, it'll automatically send you an email. So we didn't want like double emails in case both those things are happening. Now, if it says needs revision, That's also, you can go into the documents. Well, I didn't get an email. You can go into your file and see if there's any comments on there. Maybe they forgot to tag you. But at least this way, there's a couple different ways that we can follow up. If the file's not moving, we can try to figure out what's holding it up and get it going. Now, I will say this: our friends at Teaching and Learning are some of the busiest people in the district. And if you were lucky enough to have them at your school, supporting leading up to the end of the year and stuff, how busy they've been. So it's going to be really difficult to pin down when they're going to be providing feedback on some of these assignments. Some of them may be able to chip away at it as they're available. Other times it may take a minute. So instead of waiting for feedback on stuff that's been submitted, just move on to the next lesson and continue working that way. All right, so we've gotten through the steps. Just to recap, you're going to create that working file based on the template. You're going to change the status to in progress. You're going to change the access to anyone with the link can view, or anyone with the link can comment. So when that status is changed, again, Teaching and Learning gets an email. If all is approved, you'll get an email, or you can check the status by just refreshing the dashboard or checking to see if there's any comments on that working file. And then the last thing really is when you send, I think I glossed over a column H. When you send the file for review, you can put that date in there. So it's just, obviously we've got, version history on the sheet and stuff like that. So it's not hugely important. It's just very convenient to have when you send that file for review, just put today's date. All right, so I think, let me just go through. Yeah, so what I would do, what's going to happen at the end of this, once the file is approved, you are going to go into this column D, right, with the original file. And you're going to, and again, this is after your lesson has been approved. In some cases, your lessons may not be approved by the end of the project. As Noel pointed out in the chat, it's just, based on the availability of personnel and such, we may not have the opportunity to get your lesson approved. But when we get to that point, when it's approved, you're going to open up the old lesson and copy in that new approved lesson as a suggestion, right? And say, here's the new lesson, and then Teaching and Learning will just approve that suggestion, and it'll replace the old lesson. Okay. For now, we're just going to focus on the working file, and that's where your comments and suggestions from Teaching and Learning, if those get provided, that's where they're going to be. Okay. So when it comes time to, if your stuff gets approved, that's when we'll work on updating these actual files. Now, the reason that we're updating these actual files is because these are the links that are in Blender. So it's a lot more of a intensive process to go through, change all the links, add new documents. So we're going to use the existing ones for the sake of continuity and ease. All right. Are there any questions about the sheets before we move on to the next piece? All righty, cool. Let's see. Yes, Tonya.
Hi, will you go over how to make a suggestion to the change in column D when we get closer? Will you go over that with us again? Because I'm a little nervous. I'm going to implode the entire district with this change.
So we've, I understand your nervousness, and that's kind of why we set things up the way we did, because we didn't want anybody to, make an edit that was undoable, right? We wanted to be able to follow the breadcrumbs and being able to, to fix anything. And Richard, yes, to answer your question, the written directions are coming in the slide deck. and you're about to be given those right before we start the practice. Okay. So Tanya, to answer your question, let's say I've already done my updated lesson in the other file. Okay. So what I am going to do is, like, now this one's a doozy. This guy's pretty long. I am just going to come down here to this area, and I'm just going to make a comment that is like basically me pasting in the old lesson, right? Teaching and learning is then going to come in and just approve that suggestion based on the file that's already been approved. So you don't need to delete the old lesson. All that you're doing is pasting your new lesson as a comment underneath the underneath this lesson. So I kind of picked a bad one. Let me share my screen and pick one that I can access. Share this tab. Alrighty. So you want to double check that you're in suggesting mode. Again, at this step, I have my lesson completed and I'm ready to add it as an update. All right. So I'm going to go down all the way to the bottom. I'm not going to delete anything that's existing. Okay. I'm going to leave that up to our friends in teaching and learning, because I want to make sure that they make that call. And all that I'm going to do while I'm in suggesting mode is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to paste my lesson in, and it'll show up as one big comment that they can either approve that suggestion, and if they do, they'll approve it and then delete the old lesson. So that way the new document, it's not new, but the new lesson is in the old document link, right? So the resource doesn't need to be updated in Blender. It's all linked there, nice, neat, and clean. And you don't need to worry about deleting something accidentally because you've just posted it as a suggestion, right? All right. So with that, I think I am going to switch gears, and we're going to talk about our next step. So what is this going to look like? Access the tracking sheet. That's number one. I am sharing the tracking sheet with you now. Okay. Again, watch out for those drop downs. Don't change them until you're ready. Okay. So hop on
the question was real quick, will it be everything you did all at once? So it's like almost like a control A and copy and then paste. So
Yep.
Everything you did, just like select all and then paste as suggested.
Yeah, everything that is in that lesson gets highlighted, copied, and then pasted into the old lesson, right? So, and as Tanya mentioned, sometimes we can be a little afraid that we're going to mess something up. So what you've got then is your new lesson in two different places, and you're maintaining the old lesson and just pasting in the new lesson. So you're not even deleting the old lesson. You don't even have to worry about messing that up. Okay. All right. Let me pin this. So if you look at the pin chats tab to let me know if you can't access it, there is the tracking sheet, and you can see here the different content area assignments. You can see who your teaching and learning contact is, and get a sense of kind of overall what you're looking at. So if you wanted to follow along, we'll kind of orient ourselves real quick. Remember, A, that's the grade level and course. And then column B, you've got the unit lesson. C, these are going to be your Khan Academy resources that were referenced in the original file, right? So again, remember, some of these have been updated, some of them depreciated in some cases. So you just want to check that those are still relevant. The existing lesson plan, that's what's in column D. Column E is where you're going to find your name, the status for when you start working on these lessons. Remember, the template is linked right up at the top for your course. And then where it says file, once you've created your file from the template for each of the lessons, you're going to click on that and then select the file that you've created and send it there. Send date, you don't need to fill out again until you're ready to submit it for review. Then we've got our teaching and learning contact, and really everything I and on is for our teaching and learning colleagues. That really isn't anything that you need to necessarily worry about editing, but when this is changed to, needs revision or approved, that's when you're going to want to take note. All right. So first steps here, make sure that you navigate to your content area. All right, that's step number 1. Step number 2, find your name where it appears in column E. And then take a look at the first lesson that's assigned to you and change the status to in progress, the writer status. So column F, first one that's assigned to you. Jean, you can't make a copy of the template. Which content area are you in?
She's ELA.
You're able to get in? Yeah, I got the right keys.
Yep, she's right. I don't see that ability either. So we had discussed making it a forced copy.
This morning and one I just sent.
Are we talking about intensive reading? Or
ELA.
We'll fix them.
Yeah. If you can't make a copy of your template right now, we're working on it.
Okay.
Ashley,
I want to address the EL or the reading question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So for intensive reading, you will notice in my document, like I said, some of them are different. Intensive reading is different. So we will make a copy of the original activity. It didn't need a template. The original activity is doing great the way it is. It just needed those tweaks in it. So there was really no purpose because we're not separating anything in tables. So for reading, and you are going to make a copy of the original file, and that you will put in G, and you will make your edits in there. That way they can compare the two. And then I will work on the templates.
All right. So we're updating those templates. Okay. So I'm seeing, just kind of scrolling around, I do see a lot of people have made the in progress change as their Richard, you see, you're saying that you have some lessons that other people's lessons that were assigned to you. So in some cases, because of just the nature of the teams that applied, we have to move people around into areas that are kind of adjacent to their content area. Reach out if that's something that you need to discuss, but in most cases, we kind of did our best to fill in the gaps of things that we needed. And as you start looking at these tracking sheets, notice that some lessons do not have a writer assigned. And in those cases, we may be looking for volunteers as the project continues. But we're focusing on getting as many direct things as done as we possibly can. So Tamsin says that she fixed the templates. You should now be able to click into those and make a copy. Ashley.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm sorry, but I'm hitting make a copy and it's saying you need access.
For which one?
Intensive reading. I went to the original, like you mentioned, and I hit make a copy.
That one's not mine.
Okay.
Intensive reading.
All right.
So
this is something I can do. I can take care of these for intensive reading. These were
and intensive reading. If you want, Allegra, we can kind of stay after, and I can walk you through the intensive reading, that process. I think did we put that on the slide?
Let's see. All right. I will change the intensive reading ones. Let me get to those. I'll change the first ones that are available there. Just bumping back to this real quick as you're making those copies of the working files. And I just want to make sure, team, are we good to share out the slide deck? at this point?
Mhm.
So that they can go back and follow. All right, cool. So,
And do they also have access to this? I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
I see people in there, so. Well, it's probably easy. Well, either way, at the end of the slide deck where the resources are, it links to, so they don't even have to look at the tabs on the side. It links, so slide 48 links for you to get to the updates based on your content area.
All right, and there is the link to the slide deck. So we're going to follow what is on slide. Here it is. Slide 33 to name your file and add it to the spreadsheet where it says working file. So once you get to that point, again, just to kind of recap, you're going to change the writer status on your first assigned lesson to in progress. And then you're going to click on that template, make a copy, and add that in column G where it says file. I stop sharing again. All right, let's see. All right, so answering some questions. Tanya, which file do you pick from column G? That's going to depend on your content area. So you're going to pick the template and you're just going to go with the first assigned thing. So if I'm Tabitha, the first thing that I have assigned to me is this Unit 3 in Civics, Organization, and U.S. Government. So I'm going to change that to in progress. I'm going to come up here and make a copy of this template. I'm going to name it according to the conventions here. And then I'm going to save it and add it here. Once I click on a file, I'll be able to pull up my lesson that'll show up from that group.
Yeah, it shows, it'll show your most recent, right?
Yeah. It should show you most recent. If you can't, I mean, you can search for it using the conventions that you just used or create, reference to name the file itself. All right. Let's see. Brittany says it's not allowing me to open the doc you just posted. That should be, are you signed in with your district account?
I have it as anyone with the link can view.
Yeah, it should be available to anyone. All right.
Yeah,
Tanya, which part do you need to see?
Okay. I think I have it. I didn't realize that the template was up above. So I've downloaded that and I'm just working on naming it. Algebra, best practices, unit 5, blah, 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 right? That would be the title.
So the title, let me switch back over. If you have that slide deck, it's slide 33 that shows how to name it. So it's going to be the FY26 followed by the course and followed by the unit, right? So FY26, course unit, and then working file. All right, Dawn, you can save the copy to your own drive for now. Because again, you're just going to be copying from that into the existing file once you get to that point. So just your drive is fine. All right, Richard says, I'm unable to open the person's original file. So that is going to be, I think, one of the reading ones. I'm going to share the reading ones in just a moment. I just want to make sure I have a chance to answer everyone's questions first. So if you don't have access to the reading assignments, give me 1 second and I'll fix those up for you. Let's see. So Yesenia, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, by the way. Let me hop over to ACE General Paper. So what I would do with ACE general paper, yeah, that's fine. You can do the FY26 ACE GP. I think Tara is on. Maybe she can, give you an idea for if that naming convention isn't going to work. But the FY26 ACE GP A01, yeah, selection and application of information, working file. That sounds good to me. That works. Cool. Let me see the queue here. Lynette, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I had to turn my mic on.
No, you're good.
So when I copied and made a copy of the template, there's only 2 rows across, I guess, for teacher tools and learner activities. Are there supposed to be more? I feel like the template is very short, is what I'm saying, I guess.
Which content area are you looking at?
Yeah.
But Tamsin, go ahead. I feel like
yeah, no, you're right though. I was just going to say what content area.
This is ELA.
Yeah. So ELA is, a little different. They all, and that's what I was saying earlier, they all are a little different. So
Okay.
if you click on the link that says suggested revamp, or let me share my screen. Is that okay?
Go for it.
I'll just figure out what screen I'm on. This one. Okay. Okay. Let me move this over. I got a lot of things open going on here. Okay. So on here, are you in this document yet?
I am not. Where? I guess I haven't found that one. Where am I looking for that one?
So that will be on slide 48. This is where you guys will be able to come in and it'll bring you to that particular tab. So you would click on ELA.
Did you send those to us? Or were they in the comments?
This is what you sent, Trent, right? The slides? Yep.
Because
I
didn't get anything.
No, I think she's saying sent by email, or is it in the chat?
Correct.
In the chat.
It's
So everything's in the chat.
It was in the chat. Okay, I missed it.
Let me just go with all these templates.
Let's see if this was it. This might have been it. Yeah, okay.
And then, so that'll bring you on the slide at the end to, you click on this ELA, that'll bring you to this, why it's not merging with those two, to this document here. They all bring you to this document, but it brings you right to your tab if you click on yours, right? So you have your template, which is the same one, but then you'll see this suggested revamp. This will show you an example of what it would look like revamped. So maybe it won't look as bare. So there wasn't a lot of course content from Khan Academy that's linked in these documents that were made for ELA.
Okay.
So that being said, to clean it up a little bit, because it looked to, visually, and to give you guys more space, right? So it had cycle 1 over here, and that was just a really long, empty column. So I had moved that to be up here at the top, right? So it's up here at the top file, and then also the Khan Academy course that they might have referenced. And then I put the standard over here at the top, because each one's going to be by standard. So like I said, they're all a little different, but the way they had done it, if you look here, and that's why it was hard, because everyone's a little different, but they did it where there's in the Khanmigo suggestions, they always had a warm-up and a text-specific activity. Then they have a writing assignment. And so I tried to kind of organize that so that it was, because I'm trying to, separate this out. So for them, I put up here on the teacher tools, if it was a warm-up, I put the warm-up little icon, phrase, and then put what they wanted here. And then if it was small group support, text specific, I kind of like tried to use what they already had.
Right.
And then same here with the learner activities, I put, okay, well, here's the writing assignment, here's the vocabulary. Then this was a discussion that we're trying to condense the workload because of time purposes. So I did have like a suggestion to have a follow-up activity. So, okay, I assigned Word Safari, but now what are the students going to do with after that assignment? But for time purposes, we just didn't have the manpower and time to do those. So I just took that out. But this is kind of what it would look like. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when a new standard starts, it'll have this, it'll have this gray box at the top. You put your new standard in and then you keep going.
Right. It just seemed like the template that I copied, there's only like space for maybe two standards.
Yes. You'll have to just take this to copy it. Yeah. I can keep making more, but like,
okay, just continue it in that format.
Right.
I guess is what I was asking.
Yes.
Okay.
So you would insert row below, and then I probably 2 insert row belows, and then just take this, copy it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that's what I was supposed to do.
Yep. It was just, I could keep going. I didn't know how far, but yeah.
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi. So I've made a copy of this template like twice and it's not popping up when I select column G underneath. Is there some like trick or tip that maybe I'm potentially doing wrong?
You can, if it's not popping up as one of your recent files, you can paste in the share link, and that should trigger it to show up. Or you can search for it with keywords, but I think that the fastest way to do it is, Tamsin, if you wanted to.
Got it.
From that screen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just using as example, if you took the link from sharing up here and then went into my screen's a mess in here and just pasted the link, then which is not what I didn't copy it, but yeah, I'm gonna get that out of there. It should be able to find it.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we are getting close on time. I do want to point out that I'm going to stay on this meeting for these, especially because there are so many kind of differences between the different content areas. So I don't know if anybody else staying on with me, but I will stay on and continue to, and even if no one's here, you can work and stay in. I will be here just to help because I know there are very different, we couldn't do it content specific, we'd be here all day, but I will stay and address any questions you have.
All right, so I think for our next steps, like Tamsin said, we're gonna keep the meet open at least until I think 2 o'clock. Is that one? Sorry, getting my days mixed up. Okay, yeah. And I encourage everyone though to get up, stretch, get a glass of water, go to the restroom, I'm just saying what we're all thinking. And we'll be here to keep the meet open. I will be stopping the recording. That'll be sent out. I'm going to send out an email that's got all of the resources attached, meaning the tracking sheet, the slide deck, and all of that good stuff. So it's all in one place for you. We are going to be double checking, making sure that everyone has access to their files. And so you're not confused or surprised, I'm adding all of the writers to a chat group, a Google chat group, so that if you've got questions and you want to ask those and kind of bounce them off each other, you can do that. And Noelle and Tamsin and I will be moderating that chat group, so we'll be able to answer questions there. We just really want to kind of build all these support pathways and help everybody in whatever way they feel most comfortable with. But like Tamsin said, feel free to stick around on the meeting. You can go camera off, mic off if you just want to be here and have the access, but don't necessarily have anything to say. So I think this is a good time to stop the recording, and I'll get started on sending